I don't know, Jeeves. That Mrs. Phillips at the canteen, she hasn't got a clue about cooking vegetables. She doesn't realise you don't have to cook them on the top of the stove. Oh, hello there. Now, it's the season for Swede, but it's also the season for fuel saving. So today I'm going to try really saving fuel in my kitchen. I'm going to be using all of my oven on a very slow temperature. I'm steaming a pudding. I'm making a lovely scrag end stew, which I'll have for tomorrow. And I'm also, of course, cooking this Swede for the recipe that we're going to have for supper today. You could serve this as a meatless dish, or it goes very nicely with perhaps a sausage, just to give the family a little bit of bodybuilding food as well. Now for this supper dish, the first thing I'm going to do is to peel about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of Swede, and then chop it up and cook it till it's tender. Now that's the last of it cut up. If you're cooking on a stove, like me, cut it up very small, because of course that means it will take less time to cook and you'll be wasting less fuel in the cooking of it. Now pop this in the oven. You can put it in a casserole dish, fill it up with water, because I will be using the water that the swedes are cooked in later. Put the lid on and pop it into the very slow oven. Then I'm going to have a cup of tea while it's cooking. Now that's the Swedes cooked, and I'm going to drain off the Swede water and put that to one side whilst I mash the Swedes. Until smooth. Whew. Steaming up. Now there we are, mashed nicely and smooth. Now last night's supper I boiled too much potato than I needed, because I always think it's very handy to have some cold mashed potato. So I'm going to use a breakfast cup of this mashed potato that was surplus to last night's meal, and I'm going to now mash that in with the Swede as well. Now putting that to a side, I'm going to measure some dry ingredients, and that will be 2 level tablespoons of dried egg powder. Put it into a bowl. And then I'm also going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. Pop that in with the dried egg powder and give them a good mix together. Until they're well combined. That should make a nice smooth powder. Now back to your Swede and potato mix. Just sprinkle in that dried flour and egg powder and give it a good mix up together. Now we're also going to season this with some salt and pepper. As you mix, you'll see that the swede and the potato mixture really thickens nicely due to the flour and the egg. Now I've also already measured out 3 to 4 tablespoons of fine oatmeal. The recipe suggests breadcrumbs, stale breadcrumbs, but I always like to use my fine oatmeal as much as I can instead of breadcrumbs. I always feel it's a little bit better for the family, and we don't often have stale bread in this house. I'm going to take some of the mixture and I'm going to make it into fish cake shape and just dip that into either your oatmeal or your stale breadcrumbs. Pop that on a plate until you've used all the mixture up. So there's the last one done. It will make about 6 large cakes, or you could get 8 out of them if you made them a little smaller. Now I'm going to heat a baking tray and I'm popping in about 2 tablespoons of dripping. If you've got enough to use a little less if you haven't. I'm just going to pop that in to heat it up. And now that fat's nice and hot, pop your sweet cakes in and they'll go back into the hot oven for 25 minutes. Now whilst they're cooking, it's time to make the sauce with that water that the Swedes were cooked in. Oh, that's bitter out there. I've just been to shut the hens up. There's going to be Jack Frost on the inside of our windows tomorrow morning. I've heard that those townspeople in the modern houses, the ones that have got central heating, they don't get Jack Frost anymore. What a shame. The patterns are so intricate. Still, let's get on with this sauce. Now in a bowl, I'm going to mix together some dry ingredients. An ounce or a rounded tablespoon of flour, a level tablespoon of household milk. We're going to make a delicious sauce, yet not use any of our precious fresh milk by using household milk, and 1 teaspoon of mustard powder. Pop that in and then mix those dry ingredients together, and we're going to take those over to the fire or your stove where I've been keeping that Swede water or liquor warm. So let's take that over. On the stove, melt an ounce of margarine in the pan and then remove from the heat and sprinkle in the dried ingredients that we've mixed earlier, the flour, mustard and the milk powder. Gradually now add to that the 3/4 of a pint of Swede liquor, and place back on the stove for about 5 minutes to thicken. Once the sauce has thickened, take it off the heat and add 1 tablespoon of vinegar. Season with salt and pepper and then serve on the hot Swede cakes. With cabbage and a sausage if you can spare one, but it's equally lovely without. Swede cakes with mustard sauce. Delicious.